There isn't a single verse in any of the apostolic letters that talks about original sin. There's not a single verse. There's not a single verse that says people were born in Adam.
Man-made concepts, courtesy of the devil.
And that's why that guy at the meeting with Bertie was so upset. Because he wanted to know what I thought about original sin. I said, well, how do you define original sin? Because in my mind, it's like an easy thing for me to see. Adam and Eve sinned, man. And so death reigned over them. But that doesn't describe what they think by original sin, meaning man's inherently evil now. You see? That's not what I think about original sin. But what's sad is you could see the way that belief happens. Because as we started talking, I just said, he said, well, then how do you explain why a child would do, while a baby would do something that's selfish? I said, well, how do you explain that why you would do something that's selfish? Because he's believed now already.
Sure.
Apparently it's the sin nature that makes you do the selfish things that we say. And that's our evidence that kids are born in Adam. Well, if you're already a believer, then you should have the divine nature in you.
Yes.
Then why is it that you do things that are selfish still? Is it now because you have the sin nature in you still?
Yeah, right. Or there's a war going on inside of you of the Holy Spirit and your sin nature, back and forth, and who's winning?
And that's the problem. And that leads to a life of torment when you think that.
Oh.
That's what it leads to. It leads to a life of torment. So now the doctrine of original sin, do you know what it leads to? It leads to, I always have a sin nature.
Yeah.
What does that lead to? Always being conscious of your sin. Yeah, what did the author of Hebrews say the purpose of the sacrifice was? To purge your conscience from sin. But then we adopt the doctrine about original sin that makes us always conscious of our sin.
You're right. It's not walking into the new identity that he says that we are.
Right.
Well, it's ignoring the fact that sin was taken care of on the cross.
Right.
Completely.
If I still have a sin nature, then sin wasn't taken care of.
That's right.
Right.
But it was, so.
And see, people get so upset with the way I say it, but it's actually not very far from what they believe. I believe that there is a sin nature, but I believe it's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
And I believe just like we partake of the divine nature by belief, we partake of the sinful nature by belief. But we don't have a sin nature. We partake of a nature that's sinful.
It's not part of our identity.
Right.
Yes.
God would not be just if we have sin nature.
Right.
You know,